Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Councillor Susie Horton. I'm the Cabinet Member for Children, Families and Education. And welcome to the Children, Families and Education Decision Meeting. This meeting is being webcast to allow the public to attend remotely if they so wish. Please be advised that the public seating area is not in view of the camera used to webcast this meeting. Bit of housekeeping, safety information. If the continuous fire alarm sounds, please evacuate the room and public gallery by the stairwells. Don't attempt to use the lifts and assemble outside of, in front of Queen Victoria's statue in Guildhall Square. And if you did sign in, please sign out at the end of today's meeting. As I said, the meeting will be live streamed. Everyone speaking will be on camera. There's no press and public here, so I shall leave that out. Please, can everyone use the microphones and remember to switch them off when they have finished. Okay, we'll do some introductions then.
Good afternoon, Councillor Chris Dyke for Paulsgrove.
Welcome to the meeting, and I know you're new to this role, so we'll try and help you with the details as much as possible, but it's a very big portfolio and it takes a while to get your head around it, but you're more than welcome. Okay, we go. Press top, yeah.
I'm Amy Dennis, I'm the private foster and social worker for Portsmouth.
Sarah Daly, I'm the Director of Children, Families and Education.
Hello there, I'm Sam Bushby, Deputy Director for Children and Families.
Hello, Mike Stoneman, Deputy Director, Education.
Hello, I'm Angela Mann, a Finance Manager for Children, Families and Education.
Welcome everyone to the meeting. The first item is apologies, and we have received apologies from Councillor Ryan Brent. Are there any further apologies? No. Okay, item 2 is declarations of members' interests. So this is for you and me, Chris. I don't know whether you're governor of a school anywhere, but I am a vice chair governor at Craneswater Junior School, and I always declare that just in case there's anything relating to that.
No, I have no interests.
Thank you. So we will go on to the main agenda items then. There's been a request from Mike to change the order, so if it's okay with everyone else, we'll go to the last item, which is item 7, which is the local authority maintained schools balances paper, which is the last one. I've just had a word with Chris, and we have read all the papers, so we don't have to go through every detail, so when we're presenting them, if you just highlight the key points, that would be useful. Thank you.
And apologies to Angela, because Angela's actually presenting this item, and I don't think she knows that we'd switched it. So it's just that I've got to leave early, so I just want to be on hand if there are any questions related to this item.
I apologise.
Apologies to Angela.
Apologies, Mike. Angela, over to you. I should have realised that.
Thank you. So this is an annual report to tell you about the year-end position of our maintained schools revenue and capital balances. It doesn't cover the academies because that isn't our statutory duty. The report details the positions that we have and the exceptions and things that we're chasing. The only thing to add is that since we've written the report, we have heard back from St Jude's School, and we're now looking at how we support them going forwards. So the report is for information only. There's quite a lot of detail in the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got on it.
Okay. Welcome, George. Do you have any declarations of interest?
No declarations of interest, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this report, for your information, George, we've gone straight to item 7 because Mike needs to leave for another engagement, and as just outlined in the report, and it's the report that is relating to local authority school maintained school balances from this year. And so just a little bit of background for Chris and George is what we do. Schools will manage their own budgets, but where their local authority maintained schools, we keep a closer eye on them because we have a different relationship with them to academies. And where their end of year budget, I'm sure someone will jump in if I'm saying this wrong, but where the end of year budget is either very high or very low, then we have a dialogue with them to find out the story behind that. So if they're struggling, we can give support as council, and if they are carrying forward a larger percentage of the budget than is advised, then we can have a conversation with them, and it might be that they're planning to spend it on something in particular. And so this report summarises those conversations. Is that correct? Do you want to add anything else?
No, I think you've summarised it very well, and sometimes things might be delayed. They want to do a big capital programme, but for some reason they've delayed it, so that's why they're carrying a bigger balance than what we would have thought. But like Councillor Horton has said, really, you know, they get the budget in the year, and the expectation is that it is spent on those pupils in the year, and so we make sure that everything is okay financially for them, and support them where we feel as though they might want support.
Do you have are there any questions or comments that you want to make about that report? Mike, do you want to add anything?
Well, I suppose just to add that, as you've said, you know, we keep a close eye on our LA maintained schools, and the ones which I think are, you know, struggling a little bit in this climate are our small infant schools in particular. So Manor Infant is a school that we're watching closely, working with, helping it manage its finances, and we had a similar sort of discussion with Southsea Infant School last year. So it's just one to watch, really, given the financial challenges schools are in.
Thank you. As you say, it's a report for noting, so we duly note it, and thank you very much for everyone who worked on it. And Mike, you can leave whenever you want, because we've done that item.
Ask Angela, probably.
Ask Angela today. You're going to stay for the fun?
I'll stay, thank you.
Okay, that's great. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so back to agenda item 3, which is a very welcome one, and it's the inspection of Portsmouth City Council Local Authority Children's Services, fondly known as ILACS. And who is presenting this? Sarah's going to present it, quite rightly so. Over to you, Sarah.
Yes, so this is to bring to attention the outcome of the Ofsted inspection that took place in May of this year. Our previous inspection was back in 2018 when we received an outcome of good. So we got the notification on the 5th of May, and from that point it was all hands on deck, submitting over 200 documents, a significant amount of child level information, and possibly most importantly our self-assessment, which produces for Ofsted an indicator of us as a leadership team as to our understanding of the quality and practice within our system. So it tells them basically what they think they will find, and heaven forbid if they don't find what you think they will find. So the process begins, and then there's an on-site visit from the 15th to the 19th of September. Inspectors sit alongside our practitioners, they talk to our practitioners, they meet our schools, they meet our children, they meet our families, they meet our carers. And as a result of all of those conversations, the data that they review and the reports that they read, they make judgments in those specific areas as outlined in the report. Overall, we were graded as good again. The most significant increase in terms of outcome was the early help and protection outcome, which obviously we got outstanding for. That's a real indicator of the hard work within the whole system across the partnership and beyond. That difference that we're making to children and families, and the working with our parents, the working with to ensure that wherever possible those children remain at home. And inspectors felt that that work that we were doing there was outstanding. And I think it's worth reflecting that across the board of all authorities, there are only 15 authorities in the country that have a grading of outstanding in that area. Of course, as always, there's lots of work to be done. And what the inspection told us which is something we already knew, is that our biggest area of focus is with our care experienced young adults, those 18 to 25-year-olds who have previously been in our care. We have seen improvement in that, and what you read in the report is the quality and the love and care in those relationships with those advisors within that part of the system. But there is more that we need to do, and more that we need to do in a challenging climate. We need to better provide housing accommodation. We need to improve opportunities in terms of education, employment and training for that group of young people. We have a plan in place, and we are working with them to ensure that plan is the right plan that will make the difference. Ofsted will be back. They'll always be back. They're likely to be back in the next 2 years. They will do a focus visit in that period, and that focus is likely to be in that area of work. And we are confident that we will show them that that area has moved to good, if not outstanding.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I don't know if there's any questions or comments from either Chris or George.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of congratulate the outcome overall, and the fact that you acknowledge and identify the areas that do need the additional work. It's clear that we're going in the right direction on this, and we should get good in that grade, if not outstanding, in the next assessment.
Thank you. Yes, it was a nice present the day after the election to wake up to an Ofsted announcement. And thanks, Sarah, for the report. Someone said to me within the local authority, people in my position, like lead members in my position, that the estimated cost of losing a good in Ofsted was about 9 million. So we know it, but it's not just about the money. The positive things that we had in the feedback from this Ofsted inspection were stuff that you can't fast track. It was about values, it was about good relationships, it was about going above and beyond, and the quality of the relationships, particularly from the social workers, was highlighted. I always say you never want to come out of an Ofsted being told something you didn't know. We did know these were the areas we want to work on, as you quite rightly highlighted, Councillor Fielding, and the children who are in our care and care experience were already going to be a focus. And actually, I'll say this here in this meeting, we're all corporate parents, and it is something I think cross-party that we can do a lot together on improving it for all kids in our care and care experience. So, yes, something that we're pleased about, but not complacent, I think is the best way to say it. Anyway, thank you. So, moving on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 4, is the 6 monthly Adoption Agency Activity Report.
This is
which
me.
is going to be delivered by Sam. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm presenting on behalf, the report's written, as people will have seen, by Michelle Sanders, who is the head of service, and we were due to have the service leader here, but unfortunately she wasn't able to attend, so I'm here to present this. Just by way of broad headlines, because I think, as you've already said, people have read the reports that we've provided. This is a report to note, and it's to outline the activity in terms of adoption for the first half of last year. You'll be aware we do provide an annual report, and very soon that will go up, as it usually does, through you as the lead member and then on to Cabinet, so that will be the full year. But in terms of the first half, it outlines the work, and as it says, we work between the adoption service that sits within our own service, and they work with the child in terms of the support for them and preparing them and moving them onto their plan for adoption. And we work alongside the Regional Adoption Agency, which is Adopt South, and that's something they do the part with in terms of adopters, which is finding, assessing and supporting adopters. The RAs were introduced across the country back in 2016. So I think what the report really highlights is what a strength that's been for us joining the RA. It's really identified in here our performance compares incredibly well to the other 31 RAs across the country. We have incredibly good timeliness, and what that means is that we can secure permanence for our children in a really timely way. As the report highlights, we're the only RA that actually achieves both stages of the adopter's journey within timescale. So it really is a strength, and we've seen that that's improved year on year since we've been in it. So what it does mean is across the areas we're able to use the pool across all of those areas, and what it's meaning is that we're able to place children within our own resources, which is incredibly positive. What this does show is in terms of the first 6 months, that actually we didn't have children that were adopted in that time. It does explain what the Somerset judgment was. That did impact, that was very much a national issue. It wasn't something particular for us. And it was right that actually we needed to make sure that when we were that actually we were applying for orders and they were being made, that we were compliant, and we did do that. What we ensured is that there weren't actually delays in children being adopted, forming relationships with the families that they were going to be adopted with. And there's a way that we could place children in what's called foster to adopt, and we did that. So actually, although there may have been some delay in terms of legal status, there wasn't a delay for children in terms of moving to their forever home. So, and what I can say is that since then we have seen an increase in adoptions actually, and we'll see that in the full year report when that comes in due course. So other than that, it obviously outlines the support that we provide to our adopters, and it is saying that overall our adoption numbers have reduced, and that's something that we're focusing on to make sure that we are aspirational in terms of our planning for permanence and for adoption. We do know that the older a child gets, the more difficult it can be to successfully place a child for adoption, but it does happen. And where it is successful, it provides a stability far greater than something else like long-term foster care. So, and research around it can change all the time, so we need to make sure that we're moving with that, and that we're absolutely making the right decisions for our children, particularly in sibling groups, or potentially I would say those are over the age of 4, where we're really thinking what are the best plans for our children. So I think going forward that's a priority for us. And as this says, when we look at our priorities for the coming year, we are saying, it talks about ensuring any court delays are mitigated. I think we've seen that move, and we've seen adoption orders going through. We're going to identify children through the permanence process, so that's what I've just said. We need to make sure that we've been working to strengthen our tracking around that and our permanency planning, so that's something that we'll be talking about later. It is about recruiting adopters for our harder to place children. So as I said, that's older children, those in sibling groups, and also those from black and minority ethnic background. So those are particular areas that we're focusing on. So other than that, that's the summary, unless anybody's got any questions.
Thank you, Sam. No, my question I think you've answered, which was the numbers in that first 6 months, so presumably the increase in numbers in the second half of the year will partly reflect that foster to adopt.
It will,
group.
but actually where
Then,
the orders didn't go through, we've then had a number.
Yeah.
So I know that we had 9 go through very quickly, where actually we'd waited until we ensured that we were compliant. And then it was down to then the orders going through and the court having the opportunity to hear them. So we are now satisfied that actually I think we've moved beyond the Somerset judgment. We know what's required, and we'll now see those orders going through in the way we would hope to.
Thank you. That was my only question. Are there any questions from the other members?
Only really around the need for more adopters. What things are actually, what processes are being carried out in order to achieve that?
Did you say what processes? Yeah, I mean, there's a whole recruitment strategy that the RA have, which is how we attract adopters, and that can be from all sorts of different backgrounds of people that may think that they can't adopt. And actually you would want to attract people from a variety of different backgrounds to meet the varying needs of our children. But actually what we do know is particularly we need those that would take older children or sibling groups, and you're then going to a different part of the community to do that, and obviously particular ethnic backgrounds as well. So the RA are leading on that. It's certainly something we can, yeah, and it is successful. You know, we know as a RA we are very successful in that, and we will go through a variety of different networks in order to attract.
Sarah?
I think in addition to that, we can see the success of the RA and their recruitment campaign because of the number of adopters that we have that are local to the Hampshire area, and we don't have to buy.
Yeah.
So if we have to buy adopters, that can cost upwards of £35,000 per adopter, which obviously can impact then significantly on budget costs. We haven't had to do that since joining the RA, and I think that's a real indicator. We know others have had to do that as a result of less successful recruitment campaigns.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, again, it's a report for noting, and thank you very much. And I look forward to the annual report coming through Cabinet. So, from adoption to fostering, Jackie, are you presenting the Mockingbird update report? I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. So the report outlines the strengths of the Mockingbird model of care, and I'm going to provide a summary of the strengths and the learning. The report was initially presented to Portsmouth Corporate Parenting Board in June. The Mockingbird model of care, adopted by Portsmouth back in 2021, was initially developed by the National Fostering Network. And the Mockingbird model of care is based on an extended family model and the strength of the relationships that exist within that family in terms of providing support to each other. For Mockingbird, they are called, those groups of foster carers are brought together, and we bring together up to 10 fostering families, and they are called a constellation. And we recruit a highly skilled, experienced foster carer to lead that group, and they are called the Hub Home Carer. And the Hub Home Carers develops really strong relationships within that network. Their home is opened, and they offer learning, social activities, sleepovers for children. It develops a very natural family type support for our foster carers and creates learning, friendship groups, social activities for the children we care for. Portsmouth has developed five Mockingbird constellations so far since 2021. And I'm going to say that's been recognised by the National Fostering Network as a real achievement, to the extent they called us pioneers of the South Coast. To develop 5 constellations is a real achievement, when last year the National Fostering Network, they were up to 105 constellations across the country, and Portsmouth is a relatively small unitary authority. They've also commended us on the strength of the relationships our home hub carers have, because that has fostered the strength of the Mockingbird model. We are seeing the benefits in terms of placement stability for our children. The feedback that we are having from our foster carers is very, very positive, and crucially, considering there is a national issue with foster care recruitment at the moment, we are seeing it as a recruitment draw. We have 5 constellations. We have 3 across Portsmouth, North, Central and South, and we have 1 in Gosport Fareham area and the other in Havant Waterlooville area. And that is based because when we recruit foster carers, we always look to recruit within 20-mile radius at least, to enable those children that we care for to retain their relationships and links to their schools, communities and their own families. Within the constellations, we are seeing the benefits for children in terms of they are able to retain their family relationships, their own family relationships, rather than what previously and sometimes happens is they have their time with their own families within a formal setting, what we call a family centre. our home hub carers are opening in their homes and they're inviting parents and siblings and those that are important to children into their homes, and the children are really enjoying that. The feedback that we get from our children is it's like a natural fostering family. We are also seeing for children, and some of the children that we care for have very, very complex issues, and it can be hard for them to form friendships and engage in social activities. This model promotes those relationships. We are seeing children form friendships, we are seeing children invited to parties, and they are learning, they are getting opportunities to experience new experiences in terms of activities. The feedback from our foster carers has been very positive. As I say, it has boosted our recruitment figures, but also for our existing foster carers. They recognise that fostering is really hard, and we go all out to support them. And we have got new foster carers who are coming along and really singing the praises of fostering with Portsmouth, and existing carers, some of which have been fostering for 15 years or more, and are saying actually the Mockingbird model of care has really enabled them to continue fostering when, in some times of real challenge, they have considered leaving fostering. The learning for us is, yes, we have moved fast, we have grown quickly with our 5 constellations. We now need to consolidate the learning from that. One of the learning points that we've identified is the home hub carers. They are absolutely vital to the sustainability of Mockingbird, and we need to ensure that they are available and they have the time and the space to offer the support to the other foster carers. And we know that sometimes they have looked after children when they have needed to be more available to carers. So our learning going forward is how we ensure our home hub carers are fully supported to meet the needs of all the carers and the children.
Thank you, Jackie, for that report. And I know your commitment and passion to this, and you're definitely integral to the success of it. So thank you. It's a really interesting story to follow, especially as it was the first decision I made when I took on this role. So I'm so pleased about that. I don't know whether, I haven't got any other questions, but I'm very close to it. I don't know whether the other members have got any questions or comments that they'd like to make. Councillor Fielding.
No, I just found it absolutely fascinating. It just goes to show what can be done when a project goes from success in quite a short period of time. To have a network of fosterers that support one another and sort of coexist, it's just, yeah, it's a really good positive story.
Thank you. It really is. When you meet the foster carers and you hear it from their mouths, it's quite inspirational.
Yeah, maybe me being dumb, but how many foster carers are there in Portsmouth?
Not dumb? Good question.
So we currently have 227 fostering family households. And within Mockingbird, we have a total of 48 fostering family households. And what I would say, over the course of the last 5 years, Portsmouth has been fairly consistent in terms of the number of fostering households. It's always been within 200, gone up to 200, maybe 230, but it's never gone below 200 within the last 5 years.
Any other questions or comments? Well, it's another report for noting, and I guess at this point it's probably a good idea to say to the two members here that if there's other areas of the portfolio that you think would be, that you hear about or you want to hear more about, and you think it's worth coming to a public meeting like this, because actually it's about championing some of the really good practice that we've got on. As you say, when you first hear about it, it's something you want to shout about because it's such a good story. Sarah?
Yeah, I think it's worth just following up that you will be hearing more about the foster carers in general later on this year. We're currently looking to review the foster care allowances and their payments. This is long overdue for the city, and actually we hear about the valuable support and services that they offer to our children, and actually we are currently doing a review to ensure that we are paying them the right amounts to recognise that. So that will be a paper that comes, we're planning that into the November decision making, so it will come in October.
Thank you. We look forward to that. So that brings us on to, it's another fostering report. Amy, you presenting this report, so welcome to you to present this, and this is on private fostering arrangements, and it's the annual report for 22-23. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'm Amy Dennis. I'm the private fostering social worker for Portsmouth, based within the fostering team. Private fostering refers to children and young people under 16 or 18 if they have a disability, who are living away from home with people who are not a close relative or do not have parental responsibility for them for over 28 days. This report relates to 14 children and young people who are aged 9 to 17 years old who are living in private fostering arrangements in Portsmouth. Throughout the period specified, there are 10 notifications of arrangements made to the local authority, which mirrors the previous year's data. And our data reflects the national picture of low notifications. Other local authorities are reporting low or reduced level of notifications from previous years. The leading reason for private fostering arrangements commencing throughout this year were due to relationship breakdowns between parents and children, but other reasons included staying with host families, parental mental health difficulties, parental domestic violence, parental alcohol and substance misuse, and the unexpected death of a parent. And 9 of the 14 children and young people were in private fostering arrangements for 2 or more of those reasons. Notifications came from family support and safeguarding teams and MASH. No notifications were made by any other service indicating the need for further awareness raising within universal services. 9 of the 14 arrangements ended during that year. 4 children and young people returned home to their parents, 2 turned 18 and remained with their carers, 1 moved out of area, and 2 children and young people became a looked after child with Portsmouth. 11 of the 14 children and young people living in private fostering arrangements have previously been subject to child in need or child protection planning in Portsmouth or with another local authority. And 9 of the 14 children and young people who were privately fostered made their own arrangements, meaning they made the choice to leave home and ask for the carer if they could stay. Of the 14 arrangements, 2 were financially supported by a person with parental responsibility and 2 were financially supported by the Homes for Ukraine scheme, which falls under private fostering. In the majority of cases, financial support from parents simply means sending the equivalent of child benefit, and the carers are able to claim any relevant benefits for the child that they are caring for, which is something I support with. So moving on to the action plan for the next year is to continue to work with the marketing and communication team to increase the profile of private fostering within Portsmouth and uptake any opportunities we can to raise the profile. For myself to directly target services who work with children and families to raise awareness of private fostering and to raise those notification levels and from more varied sources. To continue to promote and hold private fostering briefings to train staff working with children. I also attend a Core and Bath special interest group with other local authorities, which helps with improving our practice and learning from our colleagues across the country. And we're also starting a working group planning a private fostering awareness day for next year, which will bring together all the participating local authorities to deliver an awareness raising message at the same time, and that will be with the support with Core and Bath, so that's very exciting. And we've also got our own little southern private fostering group, which we help set up with our neighbouring local authorities, where we share information, support on raising awareness and learning from practice. I really want to get the voices of the children, carers and young people and the parents into the next report for the next year, so developing a feedback form that allows them to do that in an easy and accessible way. and to also crucially write and develop a post-16 pathway plan for young people who have been privately fostered, helping to identify them if they are referred back to children's social care, and provide them with a plan of support and signposting of how to access advice and support if this is required in their future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a great report. I don't know if there are any particular questions or comments. I remember when I first found out about private fostering, in my head, private means like paying money. And in actual fact, when you realise it's coming to fostering through different routes, isn't it? And that there's a really obvious reason probably why low notification is an issue, because I expect some of these things are not planned. And therefore, would you think, oh, I better notify a load of people about this when you hadn't actually planned to do it. So there's some really good piece of work there about advertising the need for notification, but also the support for people who are finding themselves in that position, perhaps without planning it. So, yeah, thank you, Amy. It was really, really interesting and good report. Any comments, questions? No? In which case, I will note that. I think that's another noting report, isn't it? So, or is this a... No, it is a noting report. Information only. So that brings us to the end, as we started off with item 7, that brings us to the end of today's meeting. So thank you very much to everyone who has written and presented reports, and thank you for the questions and comments. Thank you.